gentlemen, if I can get this started. Thank you all for coming to the city of Oceanside, and I'm going to turn this over to Ray in a minute. A couple of housekeeping things. The restrooms are out the door and up to the right. And that's the extent of what I'm going to really tell you tonight about this, because this is Rachel. The only thing I'm going to do, again, welcome to Oceanside. And my name is Jerry Kern. I'm a council member here in the city of Oceanside. I'm also a member of the community engagement panel for the decommission of San Onofre. So that where our meeting is next Thursday evening up in Orange County. And then you go on that sonicommunity.com and have all the information there if you want to go, if you want to attend the community engagement panel. Also, before I get started, Deputy Mayor Chuck Lowry is here tonight with us. We're here to listen. So the idea that, part of the community is to engage the community and reach out and listen to what they have to say. And Ray, take it away. It's his show.
Let's give a hand for Jerry Kern that helped set this up. And in general, let's give a hand to Oceanside for letting us use their room. Now I understand that parking is at a premium out there due to the farmers market, and that's something we'll have to keep in mind for any future meetings that we have here, but we imagine that more people will be coming in, so let them come on in and grab a seat when they get here. So I'm going to kind of split this up into two parts. The first part will be mostly an educational session. And I'm going to go over background information, the same presentation that I gave to the up in San Juan Capistrano on Monday, and they really enjoyed it. Actually, it turned out to be a lot funnier than they thought, and actually funnier than I thought. So, so I guess get prepared to laugh. So I'm going to be stepping back. I hope this works for their microphones. Test. Oh, there we go. So that I can sort of see what I'm doing and see everybody at the same time. So this is the Stop Nuke Dump on the Beach presentation. This first picture here, I don't have a laser pointer, so I have to use the mouse here. The old Unit 1 was in actually this location. I have it mismarked here. It's actually right up in here we discovered. And this is Unit 2 and 3. Okay. And then in the same picture, you'll notice the ocean right there, Pacific Ocean. You know what that is, the active railroad and I-5. This is a very unusual nuclear plant because it has all of these things right within what they call the exclusion zone. No one's supposed to ever go into this zone, and yet we have a freeway that goes right through it. Background about me is that I'm trained as an engineer. MSE means the Masters of Science in Electrical Engineering. I ran for U.S. Congress at one time. I lost. That's why I'm not in Washington, D.C. And I've also ran for the California Assembly. And I'm kind of thankful that I lost because I don't know if I would be able to bear it. But in 2006, in frustration, we founded Citizens Oversight. And the goal of that is to basically go in and watch public and officials really carefully. We couldn't get them elected, so we said, well, let's just keep track of them really carefully. And it's worked out very well. I'll tell you, if you want to be effective, do what we're advising, because we've been very effective in getting things done. I was arrested in 2011 for trying to do the outrageous thing of registering voters. So, and then we concentrate on nonpartisan issues. So, 501c3, you're not supposed to be partisan, and we're not. Really quickly, there's two big areas that we work on recently: election integrity. We sued the registrar of voters in San Diego in this last primary election for what's called election fraud, election audit fraud, and won. So it's the only We still are working to try to get them to even let us look at the ballots. They have to keep them for 22 months, but you can't get to them. It's like, why are you keeping them if no one can look at them? So it's very weird. The other thing, big thing that we worked on is the San Onofre case, which I'm talking about to you tonight. We've had many successes. The first one was, we heard about a small training camp that we thought in East San Diego County. It turned out to be Blackwater. 824-acre mercenary army training camp, the most powerful mercenary army in the world. And we said, do we want to work on it? But we did, we got it shut down. And then we worked on some other things. So a bunch of scams, I won't go into all that because I can go on and on. But basically it's go to the meetings and try to catch people and say no. Because you can do other things, maybe write something, get people to read it, maybe get someone to vote differently, maybe get someone different in office. They're not corrupted by the system, you hope, and then maybe they vote differently, or you just go in and say, no, I don't like what you're doing. So that seemed to work out better if you can't get anyone in. Now, I believe that nuclear is our largest wonder human beings will remain. Turns out power from San Onofre costs more than 2 times market rates. Now, I just found out that the Diablo Canyon nuclear power plant, which is just up the coast by San Luis Obispo, the market rates there that I just heard quoted were $98 per megawatt hour and up to 144, whereas market prices are 34. So they're wrapping dollars around every single megawatt hour that they produce out of these nuclear plants because they're so uneconomic. If you were anyone with a mind, you would just say shut it down right now because it's costing us way more than we get out of it. But they make money, and they like these things because they make a lot of money on it. They don't ever factor in the waste. How much, they figure someone takes the waste from them and does something with it, and it's all taken care of. That's what was supposed to happen in 1997 by the Department of Energy. They were supposed to take all the waste off their hands and deal with it. Never happened. So now we have to deal with this waste for 5,000 generations. And any technology that generates faster than you can recycle it is irresponsible. Guess what? You're going to end up with a lot of waste. You're going to end up with a lot of waste if you do this. You can't do that. You have to have a way to get rid of it. And you can't get rid of this stuff. Now, large accidents happen regularly, and I say it's more significant than climate change because what will happen in the next 100 years with climate change? Oceans may rise. People have to move out of the way. Cities devastated, but people can move. Meanwhile, at their current rate, we'll have another 7 Fukushimas. Here's a picture of the price. That blue line is San Onofre, and you have to go up to 100 or even off the chart to get to what Diablo Canyon is costing. The blue one, the brown stuff is what other plants cost. San Onofre has always cost almost the most of any plant in the nation. And who pays for that? We do. Who gets our money? San Onofre, Southern California Edison, and SDG&E. They're raping us. So there was an emergency shutdown January 31st, 2012. There was a leak in one of the steam generators. There's 2 steam generators in each one of those domes. They're about 60 feet high, 16 feet around, huge. Inside are around 10,000 tubes about the size of your thumb. Those tubes had a little leak, and it was growing. The leak was increasing at more than 30 gallons per day per hour. So they shut it down, and thankfully they did because it's you can see down here, 1,400 pounds per square inch difference inside the tube to outside. You get something like that of a tube going out, it's just going to grow like mad. So we lucked out. We had the people there who shut it down, and we didn't have a big accident, and thank God it shut down. You know, this is the most important thing. The plant isn't running. The problem with this was the NRC, or the Southern California Edison, had a premise for the steam generator project. The premise was that it would not, they would implement it without prior approval of the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, that sentence. There's an exemption called 5059 where they say, oh, it's about the same. The steam generators are the same as the old ones. Therefore, we can just put them in without any review. Yeah, but they weren't the same. They were all different. They had 377 more tubes. They took out the center column. They had a completely different design inside. They were vibrating differently. So what happened was they put these in and they started vibrating, and within 9 months to 11 months to 18 months, they failed. The one that failed in only 11 months. Supposed to last 40 years. Had more wear in it than a plant was supposed to have in its entire life. That's how bad it was. This was not because of an earthquake. It was not because of a tsunami. It wasn't because of anything like that. It was human error, engineering error. So guess what? They say these are safe. Our plant is safe because we have all these safety systems. What makes you think they're not going to have human errors in them? Every system, we're human beings who make mistakes, and they don't factor those in. 3 projects then happened after this plant shut down. First one is, who's going to pay the cost for the shutdown? Which means all the plant. They started investing in the plant. Who's going to pay for that? Well, the current deal, which was determined in a secret meeting in Warsaw, Poland, between the president of Southern California Edison and the president of the CPUC, the regulatory agency. They met with executives from Southern California Edison in Warsaw, Poland, in a secret meeting to concoct the deal. What it means is that we pay them for the plant and they make a profit on it like they did before, as if it was still running for 10 years. So this is bad policy. Actually, they make more money on it if it fails than if it worked out. So this is really bad to have your system set up so that people make more money when they have failures. You're going to have failures all the time. Next step is decommissioning. Now they have a $4.4 billion plant. Come on in and find a seat. Everybody let them come in and sit down. The decommissioning plan has $4.4 billion in the fund, which is set aside for the decommissioning of the plant. And they are required by the NRC to have supposedly enough money to set that up and completely return it to what they call greenfielding or any kind of use of that area. And finally, the nuclear waste. We have to deal with the nuclear waste from the plant. So we had our air conditioners running, and we enjoyed a little bit of cool air. And now we have to deal with this waste for a very long time. So that's what we're going to focus on. It's deadly for more than 25,000 years, and some isotopes have a half-life of millions of years. As soon as it goes into one of these plants, it becomes very, very deadly. There's 3.6 million pounds on site. That's 3,855 fuel assemblies. We'll learn about what one of those is. And there's, as you see, about 2/3 of them in the fuel pools, and 1/3 in the dry canisters on the outside. So this is what a fuel assembly looks like. You'll see this. You can count those up real quick. I'll have a test at the end so you can tell me how many were in right here. Anyway, there's a lot of those rods in there. They're about the size of a knuckle of your little finger. The pellets that are inside that are pure uranium. But they're not super pure. Okay, they're purified enough. They're not like an atomic bomb purity. And I shouldn't say pure. They're not really that pure. So you can see the little pellets. They're inside the cladding. And then inside the modules. About 9 inches square and 13 feet long. 2 of these weigh as much as a car. Remember, uranium is really, really heavy. So these really add up. Then, well, you'll see in a minute, but they have, while they're running the plant, they had to build these fuel pools. They're 40 feet deep, so that you can lift up one of these fuel assemblies that you can't expose to the air. If you expose it to the air, it'll catch on fire and it'll go crazy. You got to keep them under the water. And this water gets to be very, very hot, so it's got to be cooled all the time. They put the new ones in there, and then they put them into the core, and then they run the core. They take about a third of them and go back into the pool, and then they got to keep them there. And what happened was, they said, this is how big a pool that you need for your plant, because the Department of Energy is going to be picking up your spent fuel and taking it off to some place where you never have to worry about it. They didn't come in 1997. In fact, they're still not coming. So they said, oh my God, we have too much fuel on site, what are we going to do? Well, let's pack it into the fuel pool even tighter. So they put it in, instead of spacing it out, they put it in twice as far, then 4 times, then 8 times. They put boron shields between to keep it from going critical. It's now packed the same tightness as in the core. So it's really, really tight. Then they said, we don't have any more space. What are we going to do? We're going to put it into canisters. So they started to build these really big canisters so they could store it temporarily on site. Do you think they thought ahead and said, let's put it in canisters that we can use later? No, of course not. So they have these in these 2 types of systems that are either horizontal or vertical. The horizontal is what they have on site right now, and the vertical is what they're planning to put in. Horizontal, they've come up with an outside local transport pack, this thing, and they can push this guy in there. Now the surface of these canisters can be very, very hot. 400 degrees Fahrenheit maybe. Ever put your hand in an oven at 400? Kind of hard to handle that. Also, it's radioactive. You don't want to be near it. So these are, in other words, this is stuff that we don't really want to have around us. So they push that in. That's called new homes. They have that on site, and the nice thing about it is you can add the modules incrementally. You can put them in a little bit at a time. And this is a new proposal, which is vertical, and these are supposed to be all underground. But the downside is you have to build the whole facility at once. You can't do them one at a time. We don't have any experience with these, really, any of this stuff for a long period of time. None of these have been around for more than a few decades. They don't know how they handle the ocean water, the ocean air. If you ever live, I used to live by the ocean. Nothing can be metal. You live by the ocean. We laugh at people putting in metal railings. Like, those will be around for a month. You know, correct. And that's exactly how it runs. TVs don't work. And if you live right by the ocean, you can't keep the TV because they all get crap out. We don't really know if we can get these canisters out of the hole over time. They never really take them out after a few decades. And they don't have any way to inspect them yet. But they say it's under development. Right? So the canisters look like this. You can see, if you count up those little holes right there, there's 37. 5 by 5 with another 3 on each side. 25 plus 9, right? 37. That's how many go into this. These things are big, 6 feet in diameter by 18 feet long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So pretty much all the way across here and 6 feet around. Each one of these weighs as much as 20 cars. 20 cars. So you pack 20 cars into this thing. It's really packed in, really heavy. And the metal they use is 5/8 of an inch thick. 1 layer. Ever heard of the Exxon Valdez? 1 layer leak. Now they don't make 1 layer oil tankers, do they? Against the law. Because they learned 1 layer leaks. Nuclear industry thinks 1 layer is fine. They think it's fine. These canisters are licensed for 20 years. Just as long as they really trust them. They're not sure if they'll handle much past that. So big picture. Yucca Mountain, I'll show you a picture of it in a second. You'll hear this talked about. Yucca Mountain, we've got to put it in. It's Harry Reid, goddammit, he's the guy who's stopping this. No, you'll find out that it's probably will never go in. And the canisters are too heavy and too hot to go into this. There's no way it can be used right now. Even if it was open, these canisters won't fit, and they're way too hot. So the current trend, this thing is closed, but even if it was open, they couldn't use it, all right? But they don't want you to hear that. They kind of sort of want you to not know that. The current trend is we're going to leave the waste around the country in 100 sites, which are like bullseyes for any terrorist attack. What are we thinking, really? There's no one that doesn't like us in the world? I think we're learning that lesson. DOE has responsibility of the waste. That's Department of Energy. That was the one that we wanted to get rid of, according to Perry. He said he wants to get rid of the Department of Energy, right? Now he's the head of it. He says he now realizes he's in charge of all of the nuclear material. Now he's thinking maybe we shouldn't just get rid of the Department of Energy. It's a pretty important department because of that. Now, Yucca Mountain, you may have heard a lot about, but may not have ever seen. You can see a picture of the mountain. It's 90 miles above a town that some people never heard of, Las Vegas. Okay? Las Vegas is close by. It's, like I say, 90 miles away. But this is an area where they used to experiment with nuclear materials by Area 51. And just east of Death Valley. So I think they maybe chose a good place for it. But you can see this mountain sticking out. And then really all they've done is they've dug this tunnel through it. It goes down and back out. And this section here is about 3 miles. Maybe 3 kilometers. So it's like, this is the only part that's there. And this blue part is where they're planning to put little tunnels where the canisters are supposed to fit down. And you can see one of these tunnels here. And if you count up those little squares, there's only 21, not 35. It's a little bit more than half. So if you try to put a 37 in there, it's not even going to fit. The railroad tracks won't hold it. Too big. And too hot, because Yucca Mountain can only handle 100 degrees C. That's the boiling point of water. Remember, 212 Fahrenheit is 100 degrees C. That would be pretty hot. If you're going in these tunnels and you have to work there, boiling point of water, not a very good place to work. And yet, these canisters that they want to put in can be 400 degrees on the surface, Fahrenheit, and up to 400 degrees C on the inside. That's 765. So they're really, really hot. You can't put them in there. They won't even fit. Okay? So if someone says we need Yucca Mountain, it's a good option, you can tell them, no, it's not even an option at all. We don't have that as an option. It doesn't matter if it's open and we wouldn't be able to use it. Done. There's no option. So Department of Energy, in their ultimate wisdom, said a while back that we're stuck with waste at these nuclear plants. And if you notice down here, they have the time frames evaluated at the very bottom. You may not be able to read, but it says indefinite storage. Indefinite storage. So it's allowed at all these nuclear plants to put it there and leave it there indefinitely. Now they made this a generic environmental impact statement so they wouldn't have to reevaluate it at any one of the other plants. They said it's already been settled. It's safe for any place on Earth to have this at your plant. This is the way human beings lie to themselves. They can come out with a really big book, long thing. And inside this generic environmental impact statement, they said the risk of terrorist attack is unknown, but small. And therefore, these are all okay. To have a nuclear waste site at every single 100 of our reactors around the country, it's unknown but small risk. That's lying to yourself right there. This is how human beings lie to themselves. And you usually have a really big document with lots of words, and then they say that it's fine because the risk is small. So let's leave the waste at all of the nuclear plants around the country. That's the decision the Department of Energy has made. So, the plant shuts down, Coastal Commission has a meeting. We didn't even know about it until a week ahead of time, even though we were working on this, and the community engagement panel that Jerry Kerm just talked about, that he sits on, that's supposed to engage with the public and let us know everything, didn't tell us about the very important Coastal Commission meeting that had been working on this for a year. So we go up a week ahead of time, and we have to go into the meeting, and they approve this thing. Now they say that the way they can do it is that they have a permit that is only good for 20 years. But they know it's going to be there for at least 35, and I'll show you, they talk about it themselves. That's a crime what they did right there. You'll see it in a second. They come out with special circumstances that have to be in place 19 and a half years from now. We have to go, then we'll be able to inspect it. Because technology is not available now, but it's under development. And it'll be around by the time we meet in 19 and a half years from now. And as I said, the Department of Energy says it's safe to keep there indefinitely. Because they've evaluated every site on Earth and it's all safe. The risk is small, but unknown. Okay. Now, here's the big problem. The NRC has responsibility for all safety issues of these plants. But that means that the California Coastal Commission, that's what CCC means. This is NCR, means nuclear, that's supposed to be NRC. Okay, so sorry about that. Not the nuclear capture, not national capture reserves. This is the Nuclear Regulatory Commission. This is the California Coastal Commission, and this down here, OMG means, oh my God. Right. So the NRC has control of all the nuclear safety issues. And so the Coastal Commission says if we can't deal with nuclear safety, that's handled by the NRC. And then, so everything is safe. We don't have to worry about safety. And then you get finger pointing. Who's responsible? NRC does safety. We don't have any responsibility, not on our purview. Coastal Commission won't allow roses to be planted in the coastal zone because they're not a native plant. But they'll allow a nuclear waste dump only 100 feet from the ocean. Now that, if you're laughing, you're crying at the same time, aren't you? Because that is ridiculous. Now here's what they said, and this is sort of hard to read. This is extracted exactly from their document. Crucially, however, it remains uncertain whether it will be possible for SE to remove the SC as planned in 2051. In the event no permanent repository or other off-site interim storage facility emerges, if the shipment of spent fuel to an off-site location is otherwise delayed, or if the steel fuel storage gas proposed for use in this facility, which is certified by the NRC for 20 years, is degraded to the point of becoming unsafe to transport. The proposed ISFC can be required beyond 2051, probably for many decades. The ISFC can be eventually exposed to coastal flooding and erosion hazards beyond the design capacity. Require protection by replacing expanding existing shoreline armoring. And would, in that situation, retention of the ISFC beyond 2051 would have the potential to adversely affect marine and visual resources and coastal access, meaning a big disaster. They're admitting it right here. And therefore, what they do, they say we're only going to do it, we're only going to license it for 20 years. Let them put it in, and after 20 years, hopefully we're going to have them maybe take it out. Right. Good luck having the Coastal Commission come back and say, all right, take out that $500 million thing, because now we don't like it, and we said we liked it as more than roses, but now we want to take it out. It's not going to happen. Look where it is. Only 100 feet from the water. Now there's fuel kept in other places, and let me show you where they are. This part right here is the existing older is the one that's above ground. These two buildings right here are the fuel pools, but they're much higher. This area here is way up high compared to this stuff. Now, moving to the next slide, you see that it's only 100 feet from the ocean, and these things, they couldn't even bury them all the way because they were getting into the water. If you work out the numbers here, it's only about 6 inches above the high water level of salt water. This is a really smart design, don't you think? 100 feet from the water, let's put it there, and only a few inches above the water. This is great design. Are you kidding me? This is the OMG. OMG. Now look, this is the equation I want you to remember. This is a little bit of math. For-profit corporations plus government regulators equals insanity. Here's a side view. Now I want you to try to look at this. They're sort of hard to see, but this is a person back here. See that person right there? That's how big they are. 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 people high. And you can see they're only going to bury them halfway. They can't go down anymore. But big secret, this area we just discovered, the unit 1, I should have brought the picture in, reactor was right here. They probably had radioactive leaks, tritium leaking out, all kinds of crap in the ground. And they're covering it up now. They did it really fast. Hurry, put that slab in, let's cover up the evidence. And then let's let Citizens Oversight sue us and then move it, and then no one will know that it's there. So anyway, we have other reasons. Ring of fire, ever heard of that? We are on the ring of fire. 90% of the world's earthquakes occur on this ring. We're on it. And 81% of the largest earthquakes occur here. All of California is pretty much red. The highest danger of earthquakes. You should never have anything nuclear here, including nuclear plants and nuclear waste dumps. Oh, the reason they got here, you know why it was, is because science didn't really happen until 1962. That's when this plate tectonics theory first came out. Remember the plates that are moving around the Earth? You heard of that, and if you see this last picture, those are the plate boundaries right there. These plates are moving, and we know this plate is hitting, the Pacific plate is moving and jamming up against the North American plate. But we didn't know about that till 1962 after the 9.2 magnitude earthquake in Alaska finally cued us in that we could have some pretty big earthquakes. And we don't know how big the earthquakes might be. So seismic scientists haven't really witnessed very much. We're supposed to have another big one. They come every 150 years like clockwork, and now we're 157 years, 7 years late. So if you don't have your supplies set up for the next big earthquake, you can watch the channels called the preppers. You know, that'll tell you how to do it. And it's probably a good thing to check. But what you shouldn't do if you look at this map is put anything nuclear in this area. If you are thinking, right? And you know, in addition, we just found out about the Newport-Inglewood Rose Canyon Fault line, which goes from Newport Beach all the way down to just by La Jolla through the Rose Canyon. That's all one fault line. And they say that's capable of a 7.4. The nuclear plant that was in there was originally designed for 6.0. Then they said, oh, that's not good enough. Let's rework the numbers so that, because now we need it to be a 7. Then they rework the numbers again, so it's 7.5. But usually they don't change anything. They just go back and sharpen the pencil a little bit more and say that the rock is a different density. It won't really do it. And so the vibration levels are not going to be that intense by the time it gets to the plant. And so therefore we're okay. Guess what? We really don't have a clue. To put anything nuclear or run a nuclear plant in the zone is insanity. Yet we've been doing it. That's human beings for you. We also have salty air that implies what they call chloride-induced stress cracking, the CISCC. And as soon as the surface of the canisters get below 85 degrees C, that's pretty hot, it's like 160 degrees Fahrenheit. As soon as it gets down to that, it can start cracking from the salt air. Doesn't have to be that cool to start. And they know that once it starts, it continues to advance at a known rate. Some of the canisters have cracked within 17 years in another salty area. Yet they say they're guaranteed for 20. Well, they're not guaranteed for decades and decades and decades here. I can tell you that they're going to crack. They're going to be opening up. They're going to be a problem. We also have sea level rise predicted, not included in the staff report from the Coastal Commission. They just disregarded sea level rise. And some people don't believe that sea level rise will ever happen because the EPA is now being reworked. They've taken all of the information out, and people don't want to admit that there's any such thing as climate change. But we do know the sea levels are rising, even though politically it's not going to be accepted. It's still happening, folks. It's still happening. Even if you want to lie to yourself over and over, as we continue to want to do as human beings, the sea level is still rising. So the problems with this site, terrorist risk. It's right on the edge of the ocean. You can come up with scuba gear and lob in a bomb in there, and it'd be terrible. You'd be down in Mexico, or Korea is almost able to hit it. Earthquake zone, tsunami zone, 8.4 million residents, risk to the ocean, where, you know, the ocean's right there. Do you really want to risk the ecosystem of the ocean by putting it right next to it? Not a good idea. The corrosive salty air, freeway, and railroad. There's nothing good about this site. Nothing. It's the worst site you could possibly choose for this. Now, where do we put it? So this is not a thing where you can be an activist and say, I don't like the building. Don't build the development. We're stuck with this fuel. It looks the same as it did when it was brand new. We can't just say no. We have to say no and yes. So we have to find another place for it. There's a hand.
I have a question I think a lot of people are thinking, and that is, if a terrorist went by on the freeway and he had a Steamer missile and he shot it into that, would it cause the rest of the pile there to melt down?
Potentially, yeah. If you had some sort of a detonation and you had hot enough nuclear materials and you could cause them to get together closer than they are, then they could start to go critical, as they call it. And it would start to melt down, like it is in Fukushima. Potentially, you could have some sort of reaction like that. But more likely, what would happen is that if something like that happened, it would blow up. You go in the air, it would be blown across the United States because that's the way the air blows, and you'd have a massive die-off. Worse, it would contaminate, maybe more likely also, it would contaminate the coast. If we had a little leak, you know, like let's say this happens. They put these in there. This is kind of a likely scenario, given that human beings are like this. Well, let me tell you the story about the WIPP facility, WIPP, which is the Waste Interment Pilot Plant down in New Mexico. This was for transuranic waste, which is not high-level waste. And they just put it in these look like oil drums. They said this is a huge success story. It's down in the salt mine, you know, where the salt will eventually go around it and ruin it. And you know, seal it off. So inside these barrels, they put a type of material that's actually like kitty litter. It's a inorganic kitty litter. It's like ground up rock, but it absorbs stuff, right? And so they have liquids. They put that stuff in and absorbs it, and it's nice and done. Well, somebody said, who was the purchasing agent, said, I'm buying kitty litter. Well, I'll buy the organic stuff. That sounds better. Organic isn't organic usually better to buy? And so they accidentally bought organic kitty litter. And they put that in. But the organic kitty litter expands and it kind of explodes the things open. So there's cans that are popping open down there. So they had an emergency where all the cans are gone. Now they have an emergency down in the WIPP plant and it was closed for a long time. Now they're trying to reopen it. You couldn't go down there for a long time. Now that's a low-level plant. That's just low-level waste. It's not this stuff that you can't even get around. You can't get near this stuff or you die. So, Low-level waste, we thought we had a good solution for it, and it failed. Due to what? Human error. And you know what? You can't trust human beings to do the right thing at all times. Other options, and I'm going to go over these in a second. Palo Verde plant is the most obvious option, and this is what we put in our lawsuit as the one that we're suggesting, because we had to come up with something that was a really good option. And I'm going to talk about the Mojave Desert. Camp Pendleton is another option. You know, a little bit further east is not that great because it's still in the earthquake zone, but at least away from the coast. You know, up a little ways. You know, tsunamis, you can really easily get out of the tsunami zone. You just move off the coast a ways. Move up. They got it within inches of the coast. And this thing called consolidated interim storage, which is the buzzword that people are throwing around, and in other words, to kind of not do something for a long time. Because we want to do something that solves everything before we do any one thing. That's what they want to do. They don't want anything to happen until everything gets solved. And all those are still considered temporary, we know, because we don't really want this stuff on the surface so that anybody can blow it up. But it has to cool off. You can't put it down in one of these geologic repositories. Way too hot. Unless they have a new design. Big fans or something down there. And Yucca Mountain, forget it. You know, if anybody says we're going to wait for Yucca Mountain before we move this stuff off here, forget it. That's not a realistic goal. Now, Palo Verde is by Phoenix, Arizona, sort of not right by it, but it's kind of near. It's got 3 units, partially owned by Southern California Edison. It's in the desert. It's away from the ocean. It's way away from the earthquake area. So it's got a lot of good things, no tsunami risk, etc. And you can see here, I kind of have it circled, but there's a picture of their existing ISPC, which is short for Independent Spent Fuel Storage Installation, or affectionately called an ISPC, if you like that kind of affection. Now, you can see the little barrels that they have there. By little, I mean big. They're really big. You know, you saw the ones that they have here. These have concrete around them, and inside is a canister, so they sit on top. This is for those nuclear plants that are running there, and they're supposed to be able to take all the waste that it ever makes. This is partially on that. I just learned, and this is new information that probably Jerry doesn't even know, that there is no licensing issue here. It can be moved to this site immediately. There's not even any paperwork to do. Now, there's probably some paperwork somewhere. But in terms of saying it can't be moved there because it's going to have to take a big license. To me, I'm an engineer. That's just paperwork. Somebody in their mind said, you can't move it there because of my license inside my mind. But that's not a good reason. We have a good reason here to get it off the coast. And their little reason inside their mind, we've got to get over that. Palo Verde is on reasonable transportation. It's right off the I-10, and railroad lines are nearby. It's out of the earthquake zone, no danger to the ocean, minimal corrosion risk, already a nuclear site, partially owned by SCE. Only paperwork is required. I think it's a pretty good option. Way better than on the coast. A company, I think they're called Elvin or something like that. I'll get the name, but they came and talked to us at the community engagement panel, which is usually pretty good with the stuff, people that they bring in, even though it's a Southern California Edison event meeting. They came in and said, look, we've been doing this since 1963. It's our only business. All we do is transport nuclear materials. And we've never had an accident. Can you transport this stuff? Yes, we'll do it right away. Just tell us where you want it. So, according to them, they can do it. But it's pretty big. They're heavy. You can see in this one at the upper right here, they have to put this additional stuff in, and in case it falls off, it'll hit those big absorbers at the end and not hurt too bad. Because it would be a problem. Now, they don't advertise when they're moving this stuff. You don't really hear about it. Nuclear waste being moved through your community. Okay, they don't do it that way. They do it at night. They do it secretly. You never hear about it. And so you guys didn't even know about that. It's being moved through your community all the time. You don't even know. But is a lot. If they tried to move all of it at once, it would be way more than they have been. But this is a special case. Unlike other plants, we have a special case here. Everything on California should come out. We didn't know about earthquake risk before. Now we do. Now it's time to move it off this area. Rail is rated as the safest, but it's by fatalities. That's maybe not a very good statistic, because how many people ride a heavy rail? The guy in the front and the guy in the caboose? You know, so that's not a very good statistic. And they've got 100 cars. Now, I watched them on the railroads out here going by Barstow and so forth. If you've ever been out there, they've got a 100-car train that goes by probably 100 miles an hour every 15 minutes. They don't want any slow, you know, nuclear train that's going at 15 miles an hour clogging up the track. So it may be actually hard to use rail and easier to use trucks. But you know what? We don't actually have to worry about that. They say they can do transportation. Let's get it transported. Rail also, you have to have special cars, because this stuff is too heavy to fit on one railroad car. That was another bright idea someone had. Let's put it on really big canisters that won't even fit on a railroad car. Now they said, okay, let's, you don't like this place on the ocean. Where do you want to put it? You come up with a place. I said, okay, I'll look for a good place. At the time I said, maybe let's put it in state, because the philosophy is, damn it, you made this stuff, you should have to store it. In fact, let's put it in the Southern California service area. First guess, put it in headquarters of Southern California Edison. Put it in the president's, put it by the home of the president of Southern California Edison. That'd be a good place. In fact, let's have a petition to do that. That's a good idea. Now, we said, no, it's got to be in California, but out of the earthquake zone, you know, not in any populated area, not next to any big fault lines, all that stuff. So we look for a place, and you can kind of see here, it's actually Googleable. Googleable. New word, I guess. It's fish shoal. So if you want to just Google it, it's right there. It's actually a railroad stop from ancient times. There's a railroad right there. We said it was by a railroad. That was one of our goals. You know, put it by a railroad line so we can move the stuff there. But even though you see it's out in the desert, you notice that it's by some of these other kind of volcanic, not fault lines, but a volcano. So it's still seismically active. And guess what? That could pop up pretty much anywhere, couldn't it? Can't even predict where it's going to be. So this is the Amboy crater. We went out and looked at that. But if also you look at these mountain ranges, they almost look like there's a, you know, the Hawaiian Islands effect, where there's a crater under here or something, and there's a volcano sticking up. There's one right there. Here's a side view of the Amboy crater. So we decided that this is still pretty seismically active, and in fact, too remote. There's nothing out there. If you actually went to Fishel, you couldn't see anything for anywhere. There's no road, except for that railroad. There's no roads, no people, no internet or power. So how are you going to get people to work here? How can you provide security? Too remote. Can't be that far. So we learned something. We also learned about all those transportation issues, but this is kind of off the possible list. There's these other places, and this is the one in Andrews County, Texas. And there is a woman in here who asked me about this. Was it Kelly? And yeah, it was. And so you can see here where they drive down this little spiraling road, and they have those cans of waste in the bottom that they're going to eventually cover up. Now this is not high-level waste, this is low-level waste that they're burying right here. But they would put in a whole type of, you know, storage facility like we would build here, which I actually think is pretty good. Just where they're trying to put it is just dreadfully insane. This is the one from Holtec. Down by the WIC Center down there, you can see if you maybe can make it out. So they're partnering with these other organizations to put that in, and that was just announced just the other day. Just announced the other day, maybe last week, that they're going to be opening this up. So it's going to take some licensing paperwork. One of the questions that's come up, though, is can it be transported? Is it going to be cool enough? Once we put it in the canisters locally, can we actually move it from there? Some people say that we can't. It's going to take to stay there for another 45 years, this line right here. This is the line. It has to get under this line, transportation line. This is the local storage line. This is the future transportation line. But if you ask other people like SCE, they say that it's ready right now. Some fuel qualified for now, 10 years, but it's already, the fuel that was just taken out of the reactor, that was 2012. It's already been out for 5 years. The average time of fuel in the fuel pool is 10 years. So what is the rush, really, is what you have to think. These fuel pools were going to be there for 40 more years. And we already learned that they were very safe. And all of a sudden, they're completely not safe. You have to take the fuel out right away and put it in this place 100 feet from the ocean, right away. And our point of view is let's leave it in the fuel pools just for a short time while we figure out where we're going to put it other than the spot next to the ocean. That's what our lawsuit is about. Now, the status of this, Citizens Oversight filed a lawsuit right after the permit was granted. Aguirre and Severson, you may know who Mike Aguirre is from the news reports and so forth. Good friend of mine and a great attorney. He's handling the case with his partner, Mia Severson. Now, it got stalled for a while, but finally the judge ruled that it could move forward in November of 2017. So if you see some news reports that say it's been delayed to November, that was in November. I'm sorry, that should say 2016, another mistake. Change that right now. That is a 6. Okay, that's a 6. November 2016, sorry about that. The hearing, so we got this approval from the judge, that's November, and then we're going to have a hearing April 14th. Just before the hearing, 1 week before, Southern California Edison said, okay, we'll talk. So now we're talking, we're in negotiations. And we're next scheduled for July 14th. Now we can't tell you what's going on in the settlement talks because that violates the evidence rules. However, we can hear from you and you can hear my point of view based on not the settlement talks, but the point of view from before that. And so that's what I'm here today, and what we're going to be asking you to do is to tell us your opinion and so forth right after I get back. So we want public involvement because we want civic engagement. Southern California Edison hates civic public involvement, even though they have a little community engagement panel and they look like they do. And they get $27 million to run their community engagement panel. And they don't pay anyone that sits on it. That's just for money. And they're not paying me, okay, to do this either. I wish I had the $27 million. All right, so we want public involvement, and we're going to be holding these kind of meetings to get public involvement. This is the actual first formal meeting where we're going to be asking for you to speak, and that we're going to be recording that and transcribing it and putting it into our court case. You can say whatever you want. Plans, concerns, your bright ideas, anything that you want, or that you think you like it. You say it's good to have it 100 feet from the ocean. But if that's what you think, maybe we should talk off to the side before saying anything. Okay, and then our goal is expedited removal of the waste to another site. We don't want this thing ever built on the ocean. We don't want it under any circumstances, no special conditions, and same as a rose bush, okay? So, you think it should be treated with equal rights. Rose bushes and nuclear waste dumps should have equal rights. So, the SOC 100 feet from the ocean is unreasonable. Better cast, better inspection, all that stuff. I don't care what you add to it. Not good enough to still say it's okay. That's what they want to do now. They say, well, under what conditions would you like it to stay there? You know, can we put it there even if we get a little bit thicker canister? What if we have inspection after 19 and a half years? Oh, move out the 10 years. You know, all of these things we say no. got to be moved. Well, we'll see. We believe that San Onofre and all of California is a special circumstance, and we need to move the fuel out of here as soon as possible and shut these plants down. In fact, all nuclear plants should be shut down. They're all economic, but especially California is a special case. SCE must investigate other options. They did not do so, and we can document exactly what they did, and we have all the evidence. They didn't look into anything else. They just did this one thing. Now realize this is a for-profit organization that's making choices for you, and you have no vote in the matter, you had no input, and they're going to make this choice that's going to haunt us for decades and maybe centuries to come, indefinitely. Is the Department of Energy is going to allow us to be here. There's no limit on how long we can be here. This for-profit corporation is making those decisions not because of best public decision. They're going to make it only because of their shareholder stock price in the next quarter and maybe the little variation they might see the next day. That's their only purpose, and you cannot depend upon them for more than one shareholder meeting. They tell you something today, they can say, oh, sorry, our shareholder meeting decided that we're going a different way now. You cannot trust what they say, their word is worthless. And they are seem to cheat and lie every step of the way. I say seem to, but they do, okay? Just trying to lighten it up just a little bit. So I want to ask you, please help apply public pressure. You know, I can only do so much. Citizens oversight is very tiny. But if you all are involved and you go to these meetings, it's your voice that does this. Because that Coastal Commission can revoke the permit based on our lawsuit. Now, normally they can't do that. You know, if you have a Coastal Commission and they say, well, we voted this into place, they can't go, you know, half a year later and go, we decided to change our mind. We decided to not approve that. You usually can't because you've already decided, you've got companies put a bunch of resources in. Well, we made our lawsuit, we filed our lawsuit right away. Everybody knew about it. So if they started to build this, that's their fault. We can't put an injunction in and stop them by law, because that means we have to also file a bond. Probably of maybe a couple $1 million, $200 million or something, I'm certain. So forget by law forcing them not to do it. However, even if the Coastal Commission decides not to revoke their permit, guess who can decide not to do the permit? Southern California Edison doesn't have to follow the permit even if they got it. They can go ahead and do something else. They can decide that it's in their best interest now that the public is all up in arms not to put it there. And we're going to make sure, if you ask me, and everybody on my side of this thing, are going to make sure that they know loud and clear that the public does not like having a nuclear waste dump only 100 feet from the ocean. So important meetings that are coming up, and there was a little piece of paper that we gave you for a notice on this on the way in. Please pick it up if you did not get it. Next week, Wednesday, the Coastal Commission is coming to San Diego. They meet all up and down the state. We're lucky that they're down here next week. They will have a public comment, period, at the beginning of their meeting, where you can talk to them about how much you agree or disagree with them about their decision to go ahead and treat roses less equally with nuclear waste dumps. You know, we want equality in this world. May 11th, the next day, is the Edison Community Engagement Panel. That's what CEP stands for. And they're meeting at Laguna Hills Community Center. That's the Southern California Edison funded and run meeting by people that they handpick, but a lot of good people like Jerry Kern. I always say that because he helped host the meeting. Plus, those are good guys. And other people that are less so in our camp, but basically we need to, if you can, go to that meeting. Now, this is not a decision-making body. They have no power whatsoever. They can't do anything, they can't come to a conclusion, nothing. All they can do is provide information. But it's good for that, and they've had a lot of good people come in. And they're going to have this waste control specialist come in, the company from Andrews County, Texas, and tell us what their plan is. And we're talking about, and it has, they've gotten better. I mean, the panel learned a lot. At first they were discounting the public, which I'll tell you, a lot of the people in the public are very knowledgeable about this stuff, way more than the average person. And as they learned, I think they were starting to really, take notice that the public knew what they're talking about. And then after that, we're going to have more things happen, because things are happening, clicking along pretty fast. So that's why when you came in, you signed up on that list, mostly so that we know you're here, but also so that we can inform you of other things that are happening. Eyes open. Okay? You know, one of the most psychologically active images is that right there, those pictures of those eyes. If you have, they did a study, they had a little coffee note honor system. You donate a certain amount for when you pour a cup of coffee. They put a photocopied set of eyes on the wall. Donations went up 3 times. You can make a big difference with your eyes. You go into meetings, you watch what's going on. You make sure you think about what they're talking about and what they're not talking about. That's what Citizens Oversight is all about. You are the citizens, and you're in the most important seat of the democracy, the citizen. According to Chief Justice Brandeis, that was his famous quote. The most important office in democracy is that of the citizen. So we need your eyes, and this was very important as we did the election integrity project. We need also people to go into the elections office and watch what goes on. Because, like I said, we sued this guy and he was cheating, and he still is. And who knows how the election would have turned out if we didn't have cheating election officials. We just don't know. And that's the end of my presentation. Now,